Hey everybody, and welcome back to 8 Square Harvest, where we're on a journey to deliver a continuous harvest of amazing, fresh, and nutritious food from only 8 square meters of greenhouse space. Everything we grow in the greenhouse is grown from seed. This reduces any chance of pests and disease getting into the greenhouse. So in this video, we're going to take you through our process for seed germination and early development of our seedlings, all the way through to what we do at the end of the process. So the seeds for hydroponic growing are the same as any seeds that you can buy just down at your local garden shop or Bunnings. So these were the seeds that we were looking at this time. So our cabbage, bok choy, pak choy, and different spinaches. To germinate the seeds, we use what's called the paper towel method, which is the most reliable way to germinate seeds in our experience. So that just involves germinating the seeds in a wet paper towel. So I use a clear Tupperware container as well. That way, as you'll see in a future slide, you can see the seeds as they are germinating and know how progressed they are. But in essence, you can use paper towel. I actually prefer to use paper napkins or serviettes. The reason that is they're actually a little softer. So once you get your very early seedlings just germinated, they're quite tender, quite delicate. So paper towel these days is fairly hardy and is made to withstand water and still to be quite firm and durable when it's wet. Whereas the paper napkins or serviettes actually rip a lot easier, so it's easier to separate the seedlings once they have actually germinated. So the idea is to lay your seeds in on one side of the paper serviette, just wet that down. I use a little spray bottle to wet that down, put the seeds in, and then once they're in the right positions, try and spread them out fairly evenly. Then at that point, you can fold the paper over the top, the other half, and close the lid. The lid's important in the germination process because it helps keep the humidity within the container. So other people often use a Ziploc bag or any type of container that allows that humidity to stay trapped within it. So this particular Tupperware works well. As you can see, it's totally clear. So what you can then see is the seeds along the way. So put that aside. I generally put it in the garage, somewhere nice and dark, and preferably a little warm, particularly during the cooler months, will help them to germinate quicker. Then what happens after a few days to a week, depending on the seeds and depending on the season. This is a view from the side of the seeds as they've germinated and grown. And as you'll see, not everything germinates at the same time, and also some seeds fail to germinate regardless of the conditions being right. So that's one other reason why using the paper towel method and this clear container works really well, because you can make sure that you're only going to use the seeds that have germinated successfully. So you're not planting something in that is a waste because the seed doesn't ultimately germinate. So you can see what's germinated, take the lid off, and you can separate out just very gently the seedlings that you then want to use. So this is then one. So I then use the cotton wool method for the medium to actually put into the net cups in the hydroponic nutrients. So there's a range of other grow mediums that you can use that are out there, but for me, the cotton wool is the simplest, cheapest, easiest to use, and particularly once you've got seedlings at this stage. A lot of other media, you'll need to actually germinate the seeds within the media rather than using the paper towel method. And so for me, this is the best way to go. So you need to be gentle, obviously, with the little seedlings, but wet cotton wool, and then just gently kind of wrap them in that. And then I put them into another little container at that point with water, making sure the roots are always in the water. This is just an old strawberry punnet, basically, where the bottom of the punnet is sealed, so it will hold the water. You can't use punnets with holes in them, but the punnets that the main container is sealed and will hold the water are great, and often those ones, the lids have the holes to let the strawberries breathe. So we put them aside in there just with water out in the sun. They can be in a fairly protected area, so they're getting light, but particularly in summer, you don't want them in the full daytime sun when they're first in here. So some protected sort of lit area, good light, but not direct sunlight while they're this young. and then as they start to grow, they'll get their 2 seed leaves. So the first 2 leaves are seed leaves, and then thereafter will get their true leaves. So we put those aside. Normally that can take a week or 2 weeks, depending on the season and the seeds. So they get put aside and they grow as they need to. The great thing about this method as well is that you can identify all the different types of varieties of plants that you're growing, so you can separate them and make sure you know what's in what container and label them accordingly. Once they've been in there for a couple of weeks, then they're ready to transfer. So transferring that entire cotton wool bundle as well as the seedling themselves. They'll generally have roots coming out the bottom of the cotton wool at that point. And as you saw in an earlier photo, in this photo here, the root actually in this particular plant is going all the way down and out of the cotton wool to begin with. So it's already quite a long seedling at that point. So they're ready to go into the net cups, which are the things that let them sit properly within, the salad table or the nutrient channels that we have, or the other big tubs. So they go in there again, just in water for a period of time, and then we wait for them to develop further before they're ready for nutrients. We also run a number of little nursery channels. So these have got about 8 or 9 plants in them. And generally we only use water in these, but we can leave the plants in to develop fully if we then add some nutrient or half nutrient as the plants develop, depending on how tolerant they are and how firm they are. Once the seedlings have developed in here for another week or 2, they're then ready to plant into the main growing channels or tubs. So into the main table with full nutrient, like these little ones here. So that's the process of getting from seed into the table. Once the plants are then growing, we then use the continuous harvesting method to actually harvest the plants. And it creates some really interesting shapes and forms for the plants that are different to what you might normally see or buy at the supermarket. So what happens is, particularly with the leafy greens, as you're continuously harvesting them, as you can see here, this is a cos lettuce. Now, cos lettuce wouldn't normally grow like this. The one that you buy at the supermarket or that you normally see would be a fully formed sort of heart or head of lettuce. But as you use a continuous harvesting approach, what happens is you're cutting off the leaves at the lower end, and the plant then needs to grow a longer stem to grow the next lot of leaves. So as you're effectively chasing it up the ladder, and so the plants grow quite tall with each successive harvest that you do. So it's a very interesting way to grow and harvest the plants, and it gives you a really continuous flow of output. So some others here on the bigger lettuce, so you can see here, they do grow really, really tall, which is interesting, which you wouldn't normally see in a lettuce. The cabbages, again, you can see the laddering type approach here. As you take each leaf in the lower level, it grows the stalk further up and produces more leaves, so you get the upward beanstalk or laddering approach, even with something like a cabbage, which is normally a round ball. And with the spinach, it's a little different because it's a number of stalks coming out the side, so not one main stalk, but a number of them. So you can see here what you're left with is just some leafless stalks at that point, and we'll go through and trim those so it creates some additional space. So the continuous harvesting approach is really interesting and certainly a really good way to grow. Once we've harvested the majority of the plant or everything that's good that we want to harvest, then it's simply a matter of taking the plant and the little net cup out along with the roots. So you need to be a little bit delicate here, but ultimately the roots generally come out fairly easily. And we then can get rid of the plant material. We can dispose of the alfoil, or it might actually recycle some of the alfoil as well, just wash it off and reuse it, and just wash the net cups and reuse those for next time. So that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to the next one.